Hi, let us understand about deployment YAML file details and create the deployment within a cluster. Deployment YAML file will be having four major details. One is API version, another one is kind, then the metadata about the deployment, then the specification of the containers or the pods that needs to be created and managed within the deployment. API version, the version of Kubernetes that we are using, and as of now it will be app/v1, and the kind it will say deployment, and metadata will be having the details about what is the name of the deployment and what label should be added against the deployment. Specification will be having the details on the number of replicas it should maintain and how the pod should get selected. For that it will be having the selector and the template to create the pods. The selector will be having various configuration details, how the pods should be matched and put together as a single replica set. Mostly we will be having a simple configuration of matching the label and what label should match. Match label and what should be the key and value for the label. And template will be having the details about the metadata of the pod that are getting created, that will be having the label and the specification of the container. Don't get confused with this specific label and this specific label and this specific label. Let's have a detailed understanding. This one is the name value pair or the label getting attached to the deployment, and this label will be getting attached to the pods, and this is the label condition on which the pod should get selected and orchestrated within a replica set. For sample understanding purpose, this is how sample deployment would look like. I'll be having the API version, kind and metadata. Metadata will be having the name and label. Then we will be having the specification. Within specification, we have replica, selector and template about the pod. That is what should be the name of the pod that are getting created and what should be the specification of the containers within the pod. In this case, the containers will be having the image of Nginx of this specific version and the port that it is serving will be of 80. Let's use that Nginx file and apply that. The same Nginx file will be available as a part of the k8s.io website. So directly I can point it to the Nginx deployment.yaml file and use the kubectl apply command. So deployment should get created. Now I can check the status of the deployments. I can use the watch command with -w so we can see how the pods are getting created. Here the pods are getting created one after the other. The third pod got created. So this particular Nginx deployment is having 3 pods and all 3 are in the running state. We can describe the deployment of Nginx deployment kubectl describe deployment Nginx-deployment. Here we should have the entire information about the deployment, the name and the label that we had mentioned as a part of the YAML file, app Nginx. Then 3 replicas got created. So So basically the desired capacity is 3 and totally 3 got created and all 3 are available. 0 unavailable. That means everything is in the healthy condition. And selector is app equal to engines. That means all the pods having this specific label will be added as a part of this specific replica set. To manage the deployment, internally it will be creating a replica set. So we can check the details about the replica set using kubectl get rs. So this is the replica set that got created, and we can verify this particular hash value from here. So this is the new replica set that got created. Within the deployment, we do have the information, and 3 replicas are required to be created. 3 replicas got created. We can check the details about that specific replica set using kubectl describe rs and then the specific replica set. So here are the information, and these are all the 3 pods that got created, and we can see the pod over here as well. Kubectl get pods. So here 3 pods that got created is available. So basically what happened? A deployment got created. Internally it created a replica set, and replica set created 3 pods, and replica set was created by the deployment for it to manage internally. Most of the time we don't need to create the replica set, it will be internally created by the deployment. We can check the rollout status using this specific command kubectl rollout status and then the deployment. So successfully rolled out, or we can manually go ahead and check the number of pods and its status, everything we can verify. And finally, these are all the labels what the replica set will be using it to manage the replica set to make sure enough number of required pods are available. Once the purpose of the deployment is done, we can delete the deployment using the command kubectl delete deployment and then the deployment name engines-deployment. The deployment would get deleted. So we will not get that particular deployment as a part of get command. There is no engines deployment.